Welcome everybody to the RDL show, the Ryan D. Leaf show. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at RDL show and subscribe to the Ryan D. Leaf show here on YouTube. Listen via podcast on our Believe podcast networks. All right. Question of the day, everybody. This is after the big schedule release on Thursday night. Question of the day. Who wins the Bill versus Brady Bowl in Foxborough? Where do we go there? This is ultimately, the question asked a year ago. Who was the reason why the dynasty existed in New England? Bill or Brady? After Brady goes and wins the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, everybody's assuming it's the Brady talk. Well, this is an opportunity to see what it looks like in a head-to-head actual competition versus the two. We'll find out a little more when we get into the schedule release a little bit later. I'm going to open the show with a little perspective talk. All right, I spent the entire day yesterday at Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, with my 3.5-year-old, okay, and my parents. So his grandparents. So it was the generational thing yesterday. And if you ever get a chance to take your kids to a place like Disneyland, and then you're able to view it through the eyes of a 3-year-old. Like, I didn't for a moment yesterday think about myself in terms of whether or not, like, I want to go on this ride, or I want to do this, or I want to see this. It was really all about what was going to make him happy. And to see it through his eyes is pretty remarkable, and it's a perspective shift I talk about all the time in terms of how you view certain situations, how you view anything. It's your choice, and how you go about that, and the littlest things, right? And how he absorbs it, and how important it is to him, and then how you make it about him rather than yourself in any of that. It was interesting to see him change over the year, like over the year of the pandemic, in terms of what it was like to go before and what it's like to go now, and how he was not too interested in the characters, right? It was nice to see Mickey Mouse over there, but I didn't need to be by him. He wanted a sword. It was a purchase by Grandpa and Grandma, and when they got it to him, it never left his side, right? It was this foam, knight sword, and he kept it next to his hip. Used his shorts as a sheath the entire day, and it just brought complete joy to my heart, his mom's heart, and of course his grandparents. And he was a trooper the whole day. Disneyland is a super expensive place too, and if I hadn't worked for ESPN, which is a Disney affiliate, I can't imagine. And no wonder it's $1 billion industry, the Disney Corporation. It's amazing with what they're able to charge and what it feels like to go through that process, right? And it was only 25% full, yet it still felt like there was people everywhere. Now, I don't know if it was because of the fact that we've been in quarantine and in this process for the last year, but it felt like people were on top of us everywhere, and it was 25% full. And I think back to times where I've gone where it's at capacity, right? It has to be. And it felt like that, though. It was kind of overwhelming. I don't think the kids fully understand what's going on still. They just know that they have to wear a mask through the process, but they become very, acclimated to it. So in this dialogue, in this conversation around perspective, we open a lot of these shows talking about things you can control and things you can't. What can you control? You can control the way you feel about something, right? The way you react to something, the way you view something, no matter the subject matter, no matter the optics, whatever. You actually have control over how you react to any situation, no matter if it gives you consternation, if it gives you anger, if it gives you all these things that you can't control in terms of what other people do, right? And when you're at a public park like that, There's many things that can go on, but we never let it interrupt what we were there for. And it was about the joy and excitement of a 3-year-old boy and viewing the wonderful world of Disney through his eyes. So fathers out there, mothers, if you have those kids, remember, what you do everything for. And that may have been the biggest thing when they laid that child in my arms after he was born, was this wave of selflessness that overtook me, because I think I've been a very selfish person for most of my life. But there was something that overcame me in that moment. This selflessness that overtook me, because I knew from that point on, everything I did moving forward was going to be about him and for him, no longer about me, right? And it was a perfect perspective. Like, I'm a huge Disney fan, a huge Star Wars fan, everything like that. It's almost always a necessity to go see Star Tours when I'm there at Disneyland. But I mean, it just, every waking moment was about whether or not he was enjoying himself and how could we make it a better experience for him. It was neat to lay my head down last night and fully understand why I do it, why I did it. And that can interact with you in any part of your life. It doesn't have to be just with your children. It can be about how you view any situation, any choice, any fork in the road you come to. You control that. And so take that with you. Take that for what it's worth. Road rage situations, anything, you ultimately have the choice in how you react to any situation, by escalating it, by walking away, by dealing with it in a healthy and positive way. And it's a simplistic thing. And we as human beings, I think, make things incredibly complicated. This is one of them. So just a little quick, shout out from life experience yesterday, being in a place where there's multiple people on top of you and frustrations ensue with the young kid and everything like that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day. So let's welcome in the fellas. Of course, Jonathan Ripkin, Sky Guasco, and Charlie Moss joining us. Jonathan's a Southern California guy. Did you spend a lot of vacation time with the family going to Disneyland, or do you have much experience with that?
Yeah, we were annual pass holders when I grew up. We back when they had the family plan, so you could get it was like Southern California residents, 5 people on a plan, and it was like, I don't know, like $250 a month for 5 people, which is it sounds like a lot, but it pays for itself if you go enough. It was like
one ticket for us yesterday was $209.
Right.
So yeah.
Exactly. So for a month, if you go 2 times in a month, it already pays for itself, and you get 20% off on whatever. So I just hate lines. I hate crowds.
Well, that's my poor son. My poor son's going to end up going to Disneyland with a group of friends or something without his dad, and all of a sudden he's going to try to walk to the very front of the line, and they're going to go, "Sir, what are you doing?" Well, I've been to Disneyland 5 times. And I've never stood in line before.
Can I repent? Can I repent of Disneyland sin for my past? Can I do that here? Is this a safe space?
This is a safe space.
Okay, so Ryan, do you know what Osgood-Schlatters disease is? It's
yes, I had it in my knees.
Okay, did you get surgery for it?
I didn't get surgery. I grew so fast. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm short, so I didn't grow out of it, so I still have it. But when I was little and I first got it, apparently it was passable under the Disney disabled.
Oh no,
you could get and you could bring 5 people with you. And so I was part of all these different youth groups, and they would always have days at Disneyland, and I would always everybody would always try to impress me because they knew that I get to bring 4 of my friends with me to the front of the line at Disneyland. And so I would walk in and I put on my knee brace, and I would tell them I get the doctor's note, I get the pass, and we were just literally fast pass lines, never had to wait. And after the 3rd time or 4th time, my parents found out, and they made me feel so guilty, and I never that was it. So, so maybe that's
this is a safe space here, but I don't know about the YouTube world. How much of a safe space is going to be for that?
I mean, maybe I disassociate now when I go to Disneyland. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna. I'll throw in a quick Disneyland story as well. We didn't go on a lot of family trips when I was a kid, but we went to Disneyland, but not until I was 16 years old. But I bought this cup right here.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
Grumpy mug. I happen to be at my parents' house right now, so I just grabbed it out of the cupboard. I bought it for my pops. He's earned it over the years, to say the least. But I bought it. He still uses it every day, and that's a cool memory with me and him and Disneyland. But also, speaking of lines and everything else. This is when California Dreamin', the park like connected, or I haven't been to Disneyland since, but California Dreamin' opened next door to Disneyland, and they had their new ride. It was the first ride that went 0 to 65 in like 6 seconds or something.
It
And
was
we got to the
California
park.
Screaming, yeah.
We got to the park at 7, 8 a.m. whenever they opened because we didn't want to do lines, and my dad goes early. So my brother and I rode that ride by ourselves like 8 times before people even showed up at the park. We just ride it, get back in line, get in the front, ride it back in line, and that seemed to be the trick. If you can get there super early before everybody else, maybe it's not a hack anymore, but early
It's not a
2000s it
hack
worked out.
anymore. It's not a hack anymore. There's lines out the door to open the.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
bet.
Black Friday.
You've been to
People
Club
going through those
33, right,
turnstiles.
Ryan?
What's that?
Club 33?
I have one time. Yeah.
You're one of the lucky few. There's a
Yeah, the guide we
for.
had, the tour guide we had yesterday was like, well, I have never even been there, and yeah, it's a pretty unique deal. I can't remember why. It was back when I was in college. I was dating a girl whose uncle like had donated a bunch of, I don't know,
yeah,
founded something or other, and we got to have lunch there when we were visiting Disneyland. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. I feel like I've ruined my son. When I take him to Dodgers games, he sits, right next to the field or behind the dugout. And when we go to Disneyland, he never waits in line and just does what he wants. So, I don't know. He had one meltdown. He had one like crazy meltdown. And it was because he was hungry. As you will learn, people out there who have kids, it's usually three things. One, they're hungry. Two, they have to go to the bathroom or they have gone to the bathroom. Or three, they're tired. That's it. That's all you need to know as a dad in the early years. If you can address one of these three things, usually it's one of those three things. And in this case, he was just hungry, and so he just couldn't express his feelings the way he wanted to. Was to just kind of shut down, and so he didn't want to go on any rides and everything. So I was like, and the big thing is he took off his mask at Disneyland. The reason they're able to be open and do the things they do is they're really stringent about people and their mask, and even if it like dips down below your nose just a little bit, they have people walking around are just like, boom, make sure the mask is above your nose, and which is great. I think it's wonderful to be able to enjoy this family atmosphere like this. But he wouldn't put his mask back on, and so I had to pick him up and had to tell him, the people here at Disney said if you don't put a mask on, we're going to have to go home. And he did not want to go home. Of course, he doesn't want to leave Disneyland. This was like at 10:30, 11 o'clock. So we'd only been there 2.5 hours. And as he was struggling to get out of my arms, to control his own feelings, everything, like a shoe of his kicked off. And then I set him on the ground. This has never happened before, ever. Not at home, not ever in a meltdown or anything like that, but one of his shoes kicked off, like I said, and he just kind of saw it as like the thread that pulled off the leg of a sweater or arm of a sweater, and he just started pulling off every stitch of clothing. And now I have a buck naked 3.5-year-old at Disneyland.
Oh, dude!
Fully butt naked.
Hashtag bad life.
Luckily, we're in the corner back by this cast thing. I turned around, and I've got my back to him because I'm not like acknowledging his fit. But I just all of a sudden one sock comes flying, then another sock comes flying, and then his shorts and his underwear, and then I just look back and he's just ripping off this shirt, and I'm looking at his mom, and I go sit down next to her, and we're sitting there, and luckily we had our mask on because we cannot stop laughing. We cannot control our laughing. And if he could have seen our faces, it could have been much worse. I don't know. He just takes off and tries to ride Splash Mountain buck naked. I don't know. But
it sounds like he's rushing. It sounds like you're describing him rushing the field like a streaker at a game.
Yeah.
Got to be careful that the guy doesn't grow into that.
we're back in the back. No one really saw it or anything like that. You know, we're back where the cast. There's got to be a camera back there that's witnessed all of this. But we have a couple pictures that we're going to take to his grave. His mom even said, like, his first date, like his first girlfriend's going to get the naked Disneyland pictures to embarrass him when he's a kid. So we feed him a couple fruit bars, and that's right. That's the answer. Like, what was wrong? He was hungry. So we gave him, look at that. He climbs up into our arms. He gives us hugs. He allows us to clothe him again. And then he's just money the rest of the day. For the next 7 hours, 8 hours, he's just go. Now, Grandma and Grandpa came over and had bought him a sword. And that helped out a ton too, because he carried that sword with him the entire day. But he was fine after that. And doubt he even remembers it. But his mom will keep those pictures, and he'll be reminded when the first time he ever brings a girl over, I bet, or a significant other. It would be pretty funny. It was hilarious. I mean, I could not. It was happening, so I was just like, this is fucking hilarious. Look what we made. I was looking at his mom going, look what we made. This dude is out of control. You know, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen. I'll shoot you guys a picture. Share it with our group here when I get a chance.
Make sure that we got some like blurred out. Like, make sure you.
He perfectly put his hand like right in front of his. You can't see. It was like he took the picture perfect for it, you know. And the look on my face is like, I mean, oh, it's awesome being a dad. Awesome being a dad. All right. You know what else is awesome, guys? Sunfair. Getting healthy. Getting so healthy that you'll be around for your 3.5-year-old for the rest of his life. So when he's, you get to spend as much time with him as long as you can. Sunfair, personalized, healthy, delivered meals right to your door in the Los Angeles and Phoenix area. It's been all about the food. The bottom pictures from July 3rd of last year, coming up on about 10 months or just over 10 months. The other two are from the past couple Sundays, right? Been a complete shift, complete change. I'm so much healthier because of it, and I got to thank Sunfair for that. Go to sunfair.com. Once you get there, enter your information on the page that you need to. Then select Carl Farrow as the sales representative, and also select the Ryan D. Lee Show to get 10% off your first delivery to your home. Sunfair.com, everybody. Sunfair personalized, delivered, home healthy meals here in the Los Angeles and Phoenix areas. All right, we talked about it, right? The NFL schedule was released Thursday, right? It's become a big show, right? I mean, NFL Network puts on a whole thing where they get everybody and they talk about it, and people proceed to engage in what your team's going to do next year. On Monday, our friend of the show, will be the third time she's appeared, Cynthia Freeland, data analyst at NFL Network, is going to join us on Monday to talk about the win probability of these schedules that were released. All right. I know you guys wanted to get into, they announced the Sunday night games, the Thursday night games, and the Monday night games, of course. Primetime games. What teams normally aren't in the mix with that are now becoming front and center to the conversation. One in particular, after last year's performance, Cleveland Browns. Also, the Cleveland Browns now are a primetime favorite. I like it. I think they are a talented group. I also think they have every possibility of turning into just a hot mess as well because of the Cleveland Browns. We'll go back to the question of the day, everybody. Who wins the Bill versus Brady Bowl? All right. Talk to us a little bit about some of the great primetime games that you guys saw that you're looking forward to that we can discuss.
Before we get into the games, let me preface this really quick and just let everybody know who's got the most and who has the least amount of games quickly. The Packers, Saints, Cowboys, Seahawks, Steelers, Ravens, Rams, Niners, Chiefs, and Bucks have 5 primetime games each. And the Jets, Lions, Jags, Bengals, Texans, Panthers, Broncos, and Falcons only have 1. Ryan, I agree with you that the Browns are an ascending team, an exciting franchise. They've been in the dumps for 50 years, it seems like, and now they're at least a top 5 team in the AFC. But they only have 3 primetime games. I thought that was kind of surprising. up at the top here, I can't get away from the Cowboys and the Raiders and the Bears still having 4 or 5 primetime
Tradition,
games.
right?
I
Tradition
know, but
and ratings.
but it frustrates me. I just think the Chargers would be more fun. I think the Browns themselves, Titans are a great team. They only
I
have
agree
3.
totally with you. I
So,
mean, but we saw, the Thursday night matchup to start the season, right? The Dallas Cowboys got the nod. There was a chance that the Bills and Bucks would open the season. I thought that would be a heck of a better battle and competitive and great game between what I would think is which could be a Super Bowl preview, to be honest with you. Instead, the Cowboys, who you'll get more. You'll talk. 2 things you need to give you the most eyeballs on opening night of football: A, opening night of football; B, Tom Brady, Dallas Cowboys. Those are the things that get you the ratings, get you the most money for those ads you're going to sell. Hell, they might get close to what they get for the damn Super Bowl. Who knows?
Yeah. If there's one primetime night that I could watch, like if I could only pick Thursday night, Sunday night, or Monday night, I'll pick Sunday Night Football every single time. Thursday nights are kind of tough because teams are on short weeks. Sometimes the defenses are exhausted. Injured players aren't caught up yet, coming off buys, whatever. And Monday night is prime time, but it's kind of a weaker schedule generally to me than Sunday night. Week 1, Rams and Bears. I think the Rams take care of them. We talked about that last show. But week 2, 3, 4, and 5 on Sunday Night Football, I think all 4 of those games are going to decide playoffs early. Chiefs and Ravens in 2, Packers and Niners, assuming Rodgers is there, of course, in 3. This is the Bucks and Patriots game in week 4, which we'll talk about. And then the Bills and the Chiefs in week 5. 4 weeks in a row for Sunday Night Football are going to be probably 4 of the best games of the entire season.
Well, as you know, too, ESPN gets with the new TV deal, gets to flex their games. So some of those Monday night games late in the year can be flexed out now. So that should make for an interesting. Also, the NFL is going to work along, I think, with Amazon and are able to flex some of the more potential playoff situation games to Saturday nights.
That's fun.
That's going to be so. You move to a primetime Saturday night game late in the year where there's playoff implications. They're going to make that shift. I don't know why they wouldn't have done this years ago. This is a wonderful concept and idea, and I like that. You're not moving up way up. You're moving up to Saturday night as close as you can get to a Sunday morning game without losing a lot of the competitive nature you get on Thursdays.
That usually doesn't happen until college football is over in like January. Now, of course, the NFL dominates everything, but do you think that they don't put more Saturday night games even at the end of the season until college football is over, just to give college football its space?
College football will be over way before these get the opportunity. But college football on Saturdays are done around Thanksgiving weekend, if not the championship weekend, which is the first weekend in December. And don't forget, now we're talking about 17 weeks of football, which means we go into the 3rd week of January. So college football will be over for almost 6 weeks during this span. So you're going to have 6 weeks of opportunities to throw up Saturday primetime games if need be. They usually only fall in the last 2 weekends, but they're talking about with some playoff implication games moving them there. Yeah, college football will be over. The last real Saturday of college football is usually around Thanksgiving weekend. They also have championship Saturday, which is the first Saturday of December normally before the Selection Sunday show. They'll have plenty of time for that.
I have a question about Jacksonville, moving the conversation here. So we don't have Jacksonville to me. Like I was wondering why we don't see them featured until week 4. And then they're playing Cincinnati. Do we think that Jacksonville, the reason that they were put off, because honestly, to me, I'm like, you could put them in a primetime slot in any of the first few weeks. Do you think that they're waiting to see if Trevor Lawrence actually, if he can build a little bit of credibility up to that point before they feature Jacksonville? Or do you think that this team isn't even worth really a primetime opportunity yet?
I'd like to go back last year and see when Cincinnati was first showcased in primetime, or kind of a solid spot, because Cincinnati was going to be bad, but Joe Burrow, had to establish himself. I think, they expect Jacksonville to be bad regardless, but, Peyton Manning His first game of his NFL career was a Sunday night matchup against New England. Because I remember we played, earlier in the day, and then when we got all done, I got home and was able to watch his game against New England on a Sunday night as the number 1 overall draft pick. And Belichick, like he loves to do to rookies, made it a tough night for Peyton in Foxborough, And I went to bed that night thinking I won my first start. Peyton lost his first start. Boy, this couldn't be going any better for me out here, right? And then we walked through week 2, and he'd lost his first 2 starts, and I'd won my first 2 starts. I'm like, all right, I fucking won this thing. I don't even need to play the rest of the career, really. What's the point?
Jonathan, if I could reply to you really quick here. I just looked up the Jaguars. Just looked up the Jaguars schedule, and just a thought. They open up at the Texans versus the Broncos versus the Cardinals, then at Cincinnati in week 4. The Texans, Broncos, and Cardinals aren't necessarily storylines on their own. Joe Burrow coming off the injury, but still being Joe Burrow, last year's number 1 pick, and Trevor Lawrence is the first maybe legitimate full storyline the NFL.
Well, I'm not saying those games specifically should be featured. I'm just saying, why don't you give Jacksonville a better game then with a better storyline? Like the Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence is a good enough storyline to quantify putting them on a Thursday night game, right? But what if they decide to switch up a week 2 schedule and feature Jacksonville against, I don't know, the Rams or something, right? At least it's a more amenable matchup against, a veteran.
That wouldn't be fun to watch, though. That just wouldn't be fun to watch. The Rams would win by if the Rams are favored by 7 against the Bears, they're going to be favored by 21 against the Jags.
Off the cuff, Jacksonville. I would say that Jacksonville is probably a better team than Cincinnati. Do you agree?
No, I disagree.
I think Cincinnati's better too.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
A lot better.
They've lost pieces, man. I know that they had.
What pieces did Cincinnati lose?
Well, they lost Dre Kirkpatrick in the secondary last year, and they were terrible against the pass.
Jaguars lost everybody. they haven't had anybody since 2017.
I just think if you're looking for storylines and you're looking for eyeballs, Jacksonville, I don't know. Hey, why not give them a juicier first 3 weeks?
I get it. It's like you want to see Trevor Lawrence play, but at the same time, this team stinks. Like, who wants to watch Trevor Lawrence versus Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater?
No, you'll watch it. You'll watch his highlights on Red Zone. You'll watch his highlights on Red Zone. Yeah. That's fine for the first. But I don't know. For a guy who's been on a big stage his whole career, why not see how he does early on? I don't know. Because
there's other guys that have I don't know. There's better teams out there with more enticing matchups than playing than the
but this league is made up
teams
of,
in the league.
This league is made up of individuals. It's not made up of teams. Yeah. There's a few teams out there that control a narrative. The Dallas Cowboys, where there isn't a player necessarily bigger than the brand. Trevor Lawrence is the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And the NFL would do. I think
the Zion Williamson effect. He has the Zion.
I think you're. No, not. I don't think
it's that high.
No, especially because of the amount of players that play on a professional football team in comparison to what play on a basketball court. But he is the face of that franchise, and he's the face of the NFL as the number 1 overall pick. So, I would have thought that his that he would have been showcased much earlier than that Thursday night game. I know I like the storyline, right? A national championship rematch between Burrow and Lawrence. Number 1 overall picks from the last 2 years going at each other. We don't know where Joe Burrow is going to be actually in week 4. Is he going to be able to play? He tore his ACL and another ligament in his knee. That's significant. I know he's come back a long way, but that's still and they decide to go get Jamar Chase instead of Penei Sewell. So there's a good chance if he does play in weeks 1 or 2, he could be out for the entire season already. So we don't know, what's going to happen there because he's certainly not going to be protected. So, all righty. Speaking of being protected, go get yourself some Athletic Brew, everybody. That's protecting yourself. Non-alcoholic beer that tastes great with none of the consequences. Brew without compromise. Shop now at athleticbrewing.com. You get 10% off your first 2 deliveries of 6 packs. We have Inside Dawn right here, more of a light beer. And then they also have an IPA as well. Delivered right to your doorstep, athleticbrewing.com. Non-alcoholic beer. Tastes good. none of the consequences. Try it out. It's pretty great. Speaking of which.
Gotta hydrate.
All righty. All right. After that celebration, those are some of the primetime games we talked about. Next, I wanted to get into what you guys, and I thought you guys would pick apart about 8 or 10 games that you think are key matchups, ones that not just fans of the teams, but everybody's pointing to in terms of what they will not miss this upcoming season.
Yeah, I kind of kicked it off already with the Sunday night matchups 2, 3, 4, and 5. I really believe that not only are those great viewing games, they're big ratings for Sunday Night Football, but they just have huge implications. I know it's early in the season, but it could come down to tie-breaking scenarios later on, and the Chiefs and the Ravens opening up in week 2. They usually are at least in the conversation for late in the AFC. If Rodgers is back, the Niners and Packers going in week 3, and then Brady and the Bucks, of course, in week 4. But then the Bills and the Chiefs should be fighting it out for the AFC there. So
where's the Bills game? Is it in Kansas City?
It's in Kansas City.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a couple other ones here. I mean, you got the Steelers and the Chargers that could be fighting for kind of that lower tier AFC playoffs. The next week, the Ravens and the
Do you
Browns.
really think the Steelers are gonna have a say in anything this year?
I think the Steelers, with 7 teams available, I do think the Steelers will be at least fighting for, if Ben stays healthy, I think the Steelers will be at least fighting for that wild card spot. I do. I think the Ravens and the Browns pace them in the AFC North, so their only chances to make the wild card. But if I think of the AFC teams, the Steelers are ahead of the other middle tier teams, like the Chargers, for example. I don't know, the Broncos, if they can stay healthy at quarterback. The AFC East, I just don't think the Dolphins might make a run. Patriots are always going to be in the mix, but if Ben stays healthy, I know it was a soft schedule, but they did go 11-0. I know they were a train wreck at the end of the year, but I think they can pull out 10 to 11 wins, and that should be good for a wild card push at least.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really difficult for my Steelers to be in that position.
The offensive line and defense are hurting. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost a ton. I think Ben's final year in Pittsburgh is going to be one more of a swan song with his fans and everybody to kind of give him a little applause and pick up his rocking chairs when he visits other towns. But I think it's going to be a tough year for the Pittsburgh faithful, and most likely going to be Tomlin's. Tomlin's never had a below 500 season, right, in his coaching career there at Pittsburgh. So no. I think this could be the year for it. They just did not address the offensive line in the draft. They've lost 3 of their anchors there. Ben Roethlisberger is not in any way, shape, or form ready to take on any kind of physical contact, which means that ball is going to be coming out quick, which happened a lot last year, late in the year, when teams figured it out that, hey, we don't have to worry about him going deep on us because the ball's coming out so fast. Just play a little bit of a shell, stay over the top of these wide receivers, get them down to the ground, make them try to go for it on 3rd and short with their running game, which isn't going to be there. I don't care if Najee Harris was your pick. If there's no holes to run through, it really is not going to matter. It's going to be a tough year for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like the Miami Dolphins in the mix. That defense is special. If Tua can be any bit like he was earlier in his first few starts where he just simply didn't turn it over, let the defense do the work, this team is very capable of being 9-8, 10-7 when it's all said and done. The Patriots, we have no idea. They could be a team right there. We saw 3 teams from the AFC North get to the playoffs last year as the Steelers, Ravens, and the Browns got in. With the 7 teams we talked about, that's a possibility in the AFC East to see the Bills, Patriots, and Dolphins find a way in. Not that any of them are going to be the answer. We'll find out pretty quick when you talked about the Bills and the Chiefs. The Bills have not shown us at all that they're close in that conversation either. Like, a year ago, Kansas City went to Buffalo in a terrible weather night and beat them when it got moved, I think, to a Tuesday night or something like that because of COVID. Still beat them down in Buffalo. And then, of course, the AFC Championship, Buffalo looked like they did not belong in that conversation for definitely half of that game. So that will be a good one. I'm looking forward to the Bucks and the Patriots. We had a pre-show discussion around this, and I mentioned it kind of in the open there about how this is the actual first time where we could tangibly say, all right, Tom, Bill, we've had the conversation for a year. Like, who's the reason for the success, Bill or Tom? You could never quantify that. Well, here's a chance to actually compete against one another. You could not really compare last year with what Tom did because he had every piece available to him, and Bill didn't. Bill had a shell of his organization now, largely due to his fault. Of salary cap issues, missing on free agents, missing on draft picks last year in the draft, in particular the tight end position. So much so they had to go and get 2 free agents out of the tight end side of things this year. I think that'll be a great matchup. I'm sure that Bill has got something set up for him in a defensive way that's going to be an unbelievable chess match. We've never seen it. We've only seen it in practice, maybe, when Bill was really calling the shots on the defensive side of things. That may have been the most competitive time where, Bill was trying to shut Tom down on the other side of things. And now this will be the first time for everybody to see. Also, not lost on this, there is a good chance in terms of how many yards a game Tom Brady has averaged throwing the football, that game could be the game that he breaks the all-time passing record held by Drew Brees. How interesting or ironic it would be for him to break it in the stadium that he essentially built there in Foxborough, but to do it in another uniform and be the all-time passing leader as a Tampa Bay Buck.
It would be I mean, that's just the story. That's the story. Do you think that it was an accident they made this matchup at this week? No, they're like, okay, analytically, Brady could be on a record chase and he could break a record here tonight. So I think it was put in the spot in the schedule on purpose. I don't know. I think Brady. I know that you're talking about chess matches, and Bill is going to have a game plan, but you're only as good as the pieces that you have on the board in football. Because at the end of the day, like, if you execute, your players execute, then the game plan that you put into place is going to look really good.
But he's done less with more his whole career, though.
Huh?
He's done more with less than he's done more.
I would 100%.
Yeah,
I would 100%. I'm not. I think that's what makes him a great. Like, that's what makes a great coach, right? Greg Popovich is on that list with the Spurs. Like, that's the staple of these consistent great coaches, is being able to find the pieces that fit their scheme. I don't think that Bill necessarily has the pieces to fit a scheme that is going to go out and surprise. Like, I'm also like, think about Brady. Brady is like, he's a sociopath when it comes to perfection with this stuff. He's probably looking at film now, trying to figuring out game plans to beat the Patriots. He knows that they're planning for him, and they know he's planning for them. And I think that Brady is going to just beat them. I just think he is, because I think that the players on that defense, like, Bill could have all of the analytics correct. He could have the game plan perfect, but I just don't think the players on the field are going to beat Tom Brady. I just don't. And so,
I guess
it's week 4. It's week 4. It's meaningless, and we know that. I mean, just go back and look at the 2 Saints matchups during the regular season last year. How bad Brady looked. How the Saints embarrassed him, and Drew Brees looked like he was, the second coming, like this was his year. So, it's the regular season. Bill gets a lot of his pieces back. People don't realize how many players opted out. Almost half of his defense opted out last year.
Ooh.
So I think it's great. I think it's going to be for a great matchup. I think that the conversation around, who was more important in the relationship in terms of their dynasty in New England, I think is a silly concept. I think if Tom Brady isn't there, Bill doesn't succeed the way he has. And if Bill's not there, Tom Brady doesn't succeed the way he has. In fact, I think Bill has a pretty good career as a coach, but he may never be the championship winning coach like he was without Tom Brady. And if Tom Brady doesn't get drafted, and if Drew Bledsoe doesn't break his sternum in the Jets game in week 2, I don't know if we've ever heard of Tom Brady. Now, I'd like to think we would, because he's just a relentless worker, the guy you talked about in terms of his work ethic, his sociopathic tendencies towards being perfect. all those things. That took time, right? He wasn't the guy right out of college. He wasn't even going to see the field unless Drew Bledsoe goes down in week 2, And so in those first few years, it was patched together by an unbelievable defense led by Teddy Bruschi and Ty Law and Willie McGinnis and that crew. That's what ultimately made it run. And then Tom became Tom, and we've seen what that looks like.
At what point can we just maybe, I know it's fun and we're going to do this forever, but at what point can we just accept that maybe it was just Bill and Tom as a duo that was so special? Like Joe Montana,
I've already accepted
they
that.
went hand in hand together, like you said.
I'm a 50-50 guy.
Without the other, who knows what it could have been.
The RDL show panel and the host are all consistent of like intelligent sports analysts and fans, right? So we can extract ourselves from this game of what ifs. Every society loves what ifs in every facet. It's not just sports; it's everything. It's politics. It's stock. That's why betting is so addicting. So this is a form of that. This is let's play the what if game and get into a massive fight about it. It's the LeBron versus Michael argument. It's the Rodgers versus you could go on and on. So I don't think it'll ever stop. But us here on the show, maybe we can make an agreement. Because I agree with you guys, but if I'm going to argue, I'm going to argue for Brady. So maybe we make an RDL.
Well, I mean, he has the last variable right now. He went somewhere else and won a championship, right?
Exactly.
That may be the most important variable. So if you're weighing it right now, it's when we go back, because Tom Brady can't. Who knows how much longer he can do it? Bill Belichick can probably coach for another 10 years. And what if he wins 3 more championships in those 10 years? Type of mentality, right? Then at the end, you're like, oh, yeah, greatest of all time.
Brady might do the same thing, though.
But that's exactly what I'm saying. This is the trap that everybody gets lost in with this conversation, and you just keep going and go. You could dig a hole with this as deep as China at this point. There's so much ammo for both sides.
Deep to China, right? Not as China. China's not a hole. Deep, I don't think.
Correct.
No, it's as deep as China is on this earth. If you were to dig down, I think it works linguistically.
I don't think so.
Diction is hard in the early afternoon, Ryan.
It is. It's hard, especially when you have the sunshine and the ocean there in San Diego that pulls you away.
Life.
Yeah. All right. Let's sell a few more ads here. Our boys from Michigan developed this hot sauce called Bomb Banana. All right, did it out of their dorm room. I absolutely love it. Nothing special about this, or nothing special about any other hot sauce. This one's different. Fresh bananas. That's right, bananas, not banana based. Don't be confused. Banana flavored hot sauces deliver exceptional and robust chili spice to all meals.
No, not banana flavor. Banana based, not banana flavor.
Did I say banana flavored?
You mixed it up a little bit.
I don't think I did. Well, I'll go back and listen. This is not banana flavored. It's banana based, everybody. Made from bananas, all right? There's 2 kinds. The original with the white logo bottle, not as spicy. If you want a little more of a kick, go to the red bottle, the Muy Muy. Check that out. Go to their website, seekthespice.com. That's seekthespice.com, all one word. And today you can receive 10% off your first order by using the promo code LEAF. That's LEAF, like on a tree, at checkout. Bomb Banana hot sauce, everybody.
Charlie, you should get the bat.
I could. Did you guys heard that as well? No one's gonna back me up.
I'm
now?
not trying to be a shit starter.
We have to go back. We have to go back.
I'm pretty certain. You said I'm gonna say 99% sure you said it's not banana based. It's banana flavor. So I just had to correct it.
Okay, we'll
it does taste like it is flavored like banana too, because it's made from bananas.
I'm sending it to Secaucus, New Jersey for the replay.
Sounds
good.
I'll
let you know what the official decision is in a moment.
Yeah, Ryan.
All right.
Review film and get better next time.
Yeah, hey, I got to get better, guys. If I did make a mistake, I corrected it. I'll move on and I'll get better. Who's gotten better in the last few games? The Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA playoffs are on the verge. The playoff picture is tightening up here and forming up. The Lakers are now half a game out of the top 6 spots. If they were able to get to that spot, they no longer would have to play in the play-in tournament, which would be a huge relief. Give some guys a little extra days to rest before the playoff kicks in. you have to go up against the likes of the Warriors in a winner take all game.
Nah.
That is not a recipe for success, especially with the ups and downs and the hot mess of the Los Angeles Lakers this year.
I have a very hot take, actually. I'd rather go up against the Warriors in the play-in tournament than have to play the Clippers in
a series,
in a 7-game series. 100%, yes. Because when you beat the Warriors, you'd be the
because you're you're like the one pumped guy. You're not about stamina. I understand. I mean,
no, but I'm saying if you beat the Warriors, which I think they would beat them pretty easily with LeBron and AD back, you play either the Suns or the Jazz, who I would much rather play than the Clippers. Excuse me, I need to sneeze for a second.
Bless you.
Go get it. Yeah, I think the Clippers are going to be a problem. But then, like, the second question to our process here in terms of the NBA playoffs, how real are the Suns? How real are the Jazz? They're most likely going to be the 1 and 2 seeds in the West, and the West has always been the most difficult conference to deal with. Always the eventual champion usually coming from this for the past decade or two. What are your guys' thoughts on that? In a 7-game series, I understand these things in terms of matchups and things like that. But, I feel like the Suns and the Jazz have really just found something this year playing that well together. And unless you have a full, arsenal of healthy Los Angeles Lakers, I think it's a real crapshoot in the West right now.
It's a crapshoot all over the place. People don't. I mean, I'll get to this point in a second. It's not good. We'll see what happens with Brooklyn. I have a point on them. But going back to what you're saying here, Ryan, the Jazz feel like the Miami Heat last year. They have a really the anchor right now is Gobert defensively. Last year was Bam. You pepper around shooters on the offense, and then you have one guy that you can rely on to get the buckets. Jimmy Butler last year. This year it's Donovan Mitchell for the Jazz. Right? It feels very Miami Heat like. The thing though about the West is it's far more competitive than the East was last year when the Heat were out there winning. And of course, there's that game 7. There's that game 7 with the 76ers that the Sixers could have won, yada, yada, yada. My point is, okay, so Utah, I think that they're good. They're defensively very stout. I don't think in a 7-game series they're going to beat the likes of the Clippers. I don't know. I think that Denver would be an interesting series, and I don't think they would beat the Lakers in a 7-game series. So they're out for me after the second round of the playoffs. Phoenix, I just don't think that they're too young. I don't think they have the experience. Chris Paul is a great leader. They have experience with him, but you have a team of a bunch of guys who are great in college but have never been on the stage before going against eventually guys who have been doing this year in and year out. So I don't think that they're going to make it past the second round either. Maybe they make it to the finals, but I doubt it in the Western Conference.
Well, Chris Paul's never made it to the finals in his career.
I don't think that this is the team that he's going to do.
I agree. I agree with you.
Ironically enough, it would be funny if it was.
I hope so. I love the Suns team. I just don't think they're 2 years away. They're 2 years away. I don't think Chris Paul's not going to be playing at this level in 2 years. He's just not. So I don't think it's going to happen. Bless you, Charlie. This guy's a sneezing machine. Okay, so I really think
when you come from the safe confines of your dorm room in Indiana to the frozen tundra.
I wasn't in a dorm. I wasn't in a dorm at IU.
I know you weren't, but it's funny because everybody on the show thinks you. Rob Berger sent you a dorm warming gift. I remember,
a care package.
I wish he did. That would have been awesome.
All right, can I bring up a point? Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. Can I bring up a point about the Brooklyn Nets?
Yes, I'd love to hear it. Because I'm just assuming that the Brooklyn Nets are going to be in the Eastern Conference representative in the NBA Finals. Am I wrong?
They've played 7 games together.
Doesn't matter. No.
Pause, Charlie. Can I finish my point?
You can mute him.
That's so true. I didn't do that. I don't know who did that. That wasn't me.
Muted myself.
Oh, okay. Let's do that. I like that decision. No, do you remember in the first season, Miami had the big 3? They were 9-8 in their first 17 games. It takes some time for these teams to be able.
Well, don't forget they lost the finals to the Dallas Mavericks in their first year.
Right. So. And it takes time. Even if they play 9 games going into the postseason, I think they're literally going to have growing pains together, and the time to do that is not in the postseason. So I'm worried about the Nets. The Sixers,
Who beats them? Who beats them?
Milwaukee's the only team I think that's going to be. If a team beats them, it's going to be Milwaukee.
I love Giannis. I love the Bucks. Yeah, when Giannis does not have a jump shot, and without a jump shot, he will never win an NBA championship. It is that simple.
But I think that their team this year they have better outside shooters. I think that if Chris Middleton is shooting above 38% from three, and with Drew Holiday, I think that they're going to be. I think they can. The reason I don't say Philadelphia, even though I like them better overall, is because when it comes down to crunch time, they don't have an identity. They give Shake Milton the ball to take big shots, right? Ben Simmons doesn't have a jump shot. He's not going to he's not going to be the guy you rely on in big shot situations. And Embiid is an inconsistent shooter, and he can't create his own shot. So what do? You go to Shake Milton. You go to Matisse Thybulle, right? You go to Tobias. These aren't guys that you want in a postseason game, in Game 6 or Game 7, taking your final shot. So Philadelphia kind of scares me in terms of, like, if they get to that point where it comes crunch time, I think they're going to collapse. So I think Milwaukee still has the best chance to come out of the East. But if Brooklyn puts it together, they're unstoppable. If they put it together, they're unstoppable.
I kind of have a very similar thought to you about the Bucks. Like, when it comes down to crunch time, you need someone to make a shot. Like, Giannis isn't that guy. Giannis is not that guy.
Can make big shots. Drew
I get it, but you want the best player on your team to take over down the stretch and to make the big shots. And I love Drew Holiday. I love Chris Middleton. They're great players, but they're not superstars.
Oh,
but
what's Giannis used for? But what's Giannis used? You put Giannis on the block. 3 guys come down because you can't stop him one-on-one, and then you have shooters around that are open on the perimeter. That's what he attracts. That's what being a superstar does.
I just think without a jump shot, the Bucks will never win a championship. Giannis needs to develop a jump shot, which will make him a 2-dimensional player.
No, they're not going to win a championship, but they could beat the Nets. I think they could beat the Nets.
I mean, they can. I find it very unlikely.
The Western Conference is going to win the championship if it's not the Brooklyn Nets. That's how
I know every player on the roster from like the 80s and 90s teams, and I couldn't give you like more than 2 or 3 guys on a NBA roster these days. It's crazy. And you guys got it down locked. This is awesome. You guys need to start your own NBA show, a kind of the
RDL NBA show.
Yeah, we could do a spinoff from it and have like the
NBA
Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith debate show between Charlie and Jonathan. I think that'd be pretty cool. All right, moving on to Saturday. As again, the question of the day, of course, who wins the Bill versus Brady Bowl in week 4, guys? Is that what we did?
Week 4.
Yeah,
week 4 of the NFL season. That will be the question that we get to after a few more things here. First, the Preakness, the second leg of the Triple Crown, is this Saturday. Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner and disqualified winner because of a positive anti-inflammatory drug test, is the 9-5 favorite, even though being surrounded by all this controversy. What are your guys' thoughts on the fact that this horse is going to race and as seen as the favorite going forward?
I have a question because I'm not an avid horse racer. Like, this is like, I'm not like, I grew up, like, people would go to Santa Ana racetrack and do the whole big events out there in Orange County and LA racetrack and all that stuff. My sister does equestrian, but she doesn't race horses. And, like, do the horses like to race? Because like the horse, okay, so because they're bred to, right? It's like literally programmed for them to go and like this is, right?
When owning racehorses, you figure it out. Like, I remember going to see War Emblem. He had won the Kentucky Derby and I think the Preakness that year before losing at the Belmont. And I went and watched him at Del Mar running the Del Mar handicap.
Yep. Nice race.
And dude, when that beautiful black stallion walked out onto that turf, and he knew everybody was there to watch him. And it was like a superstar athlete, walking around strutting his stuff after scoring a big touchdown and everything. Right. And then he proceeded to go out and just, go from wire to wire. I mean, they love what they do.
Good.
It's bred into them, right? And they do it every single day, and they live like champions, right? They eat better than some humans.
They get this unfair diet.
They get taken care of like nobody's business when it comes to the medical side of things.
So the reason I asked that is because, like, Medina Spirit didn't consciously dope, right? Like the owner of the team. So like If this horse loves, like, it's like if you were sleeping and you're an athlete and your trainer just walks in and injects you with steroid booster, right? It's like he's like, all right, now you're going to go, you're going to play better. There's nothing you can do at that point. And if you get caught, you get caught. But it wasn't really your say, right? This horse loves to go race, so I don't see a problem with Medina Spirit going out and racing. I have a problem, number one, with the line. I think everybody should stay away from the line because we don't know what condition the horse, like, there's also an after effect when, like, with steroids and stuff, like, your body has it. There's a physiological effect that it goes through. I don't know how horses process it, but it can't.
Well, it wasn't a steroid, right? It was an anti-inflammatory.
It was an anti-inflammatory. That's what was inflamed, right? Was there something that was inflamed?
Anytime you can remove swelling from any kind of performance species, whether it be human or not, that's the biggest thing. You know, when I got my last blood test, the fact that I had my body was so less inflamed because of the food choices I've made over the last 10 months. It was astronomical from my doctor's standpoint. He's like, you are so less swollen, so less inflamed in your joints and everything like that. And that's exactly when you have that, you have more pliability, more mobility, more flexibility, all the things that exist. And as a horse, right, I mean, extension and flexibility is a huge aspect of all that. So I'm still going to watch. You know, I love watching the Triple Crown. It's freaking 2.5 minutes of your weekend. You know, you throw it on, maybe you throw a few shekels on it for the fun of it all. You know, we'll see. Last question before we get to our question of the day was, and maybe we'll do this as a question of the day next week. Where do the A's move to if and when they move from Oakland? You know, I think it would be funny to see them, as we see Las Vegas as a plus 150. It would be interesting to see them follow in the footsteps of their cohorts.
Can you imagine the Raiders moving just to have to play football on a baseball field again? That would be so funny.
I don't think that would happen.
It wouldn't.
It would not.
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. But it's a funny thought.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the question of the day. Who wins in the Bill versus Brady Bowl? We've had a few answers here. Bill Powell, good friend of the show, goes, Bucks win. Brady gets his 32. What does that mean? Gets his 32. You guys know what that means?
32 teams. Yeah, the Patriots are the last team that
Patriots are the last team for him to beat. Okay. Only 3 quarterbacks have done it ever. That's pretty good. Does Bill go with Cam or Mac? Game 4, we'll have a pretty good idea if Cam is your guy the first 3 games. Might be a good opportunity to see Mac Jones in a very highly contested, pressure-filled game. We'll see how that goes. Rob Berger, who loves our boy Charlie Moss, really cares about him, needed the show today. We needed the show today. Everybody have some good perspective. We'll bring Cynthia Freeland, friend of the show, back on Monday to talk about the win probability of your team and their schedule that was released this week. You guys have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you on Monday from the RDL show. Have a great one.